Gamble for the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I told you yesterday morning, my name is T. Gamble. It's my privilege today to represent Trinity Poague. You've heard what the state says the evidence is going to show in this case, and it will not be surprising to you, I don't think, that we disagree with at least some of what the state has to say as to what this evidence is going to show. Now, there are certain parts of the evidence we will all agree on. There's no question about that. But I'm going to tell you what we believe the evidence is really going to show you about this case. You're going to see that this is a case that the state has made that is filled with suspicion, but is completely empty of evidence. You're going to see that this case is not about a young 18-year-old girl who was dating a 23-year-old man and in some reason or another caused great harm to an 18-month-old child. Because you're going to see from the facts of this case that this case is about a victim. Not just one victim, but two victims. One victim is readily apparent. That's J.D. This is an 18-month-old child that had tragic injuries. There's no question about that. But the second victim sits at this table right here, right behind me. That victim is Trinity Poague, because she has been accused of a crime she did not commit based upon speculation that is incorrect. Because you're going to see from the evidence that what occurred here is nothing to do with Trinity Poague's hands, nothing to do with any violence she would have ever have done toward the child. The evidence is going to show you that Trinity Poague was 18 years old at the time she was accused of this crime. She had graduated from high school the spring before that. She had graduated with honors. She had received a scholarship from the Jimmy Carter Scholarship Program. She agreed to come to Georgia Southwestern under that scholarship program to get a degree in nursing. She had just completed her first semester of school, making straight A's, when it began the second semester in January of 2024. Now, when she first entered Georgia Southwestern back in August of 2023, she had a relationship of boyfriend-girlfriend with Julian Williams, who you've already heard a little about. Julian Williams is 23 years old. She's 18. This relationship, as has already been described and we acknowledge, was volatile. It was an immature relationship, one in which they argued and fought and broke up and got back together and broke up and got back together. The breakups were usually on an hour or two, fussing over text messages or whatever. But you will see from that evidence and all that you will hear from the courtroom that Julian Williams was a controlling boyfriend. He wanted to know everything about what Trinity Poague was doing. He wanted to know the passwords for every bit of her social media, Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it may be. He wanted complete access. That when he text messaged when he was away, he wanted a response immediately. He wanted to know that she was not going anywhere when she was in college where she would talk to other men. He did not want her to do anything. He was a controlling factor in their relationship. But at the same time, Trinity Poague at the time thought she was in love with Julian Williams. And so as time went on from August until January when this event occurred, Julian Williams would come to see her at Georgia Southwestern College and spend the night quite often. He spent every weekend, virtually every weekend with her. And most days he spent at least a couple of times during the weekday with her. And almost all of those times when he did that, he was alone. Now, Trinity knew that he had a child. The child was J.D. that you've already heard about. When she first started dating him, that was in June of 2023. The child was approximately a year old. She did not meet J.D. immediately. She met J.D. later. But when she did meet J.D., Julian was fine and dandy with her taking the child off by herself and doing whatever she wanted to do as far as shopping or things of that nature, because he knew that Trinity had experience with young children. Because Trinity, from the time that she was 11 years old until she was 18, had babysat for numerous people in Donaldsonville, numerous times. would take care of their children. And oftentimes the children she took care of were of the age of J.D., under a year to a 2-year-old child. And so she was real secure in doing so. And you're going to see that most of the time, though, the child was not with J.D., was not with Mr. Williams, who's known as Jay, because he would leave the child with his sister. As you heard already, he and his sister were living together. And in reality, the sister was caretaker of this child. Mr. Williams didn't take the child with him unless he had to. You're here on the weekend he had the child here on January was because the sister all of a sudden couldn't keep the child. When he came on the weekdays, he didn't bring the child with him. When he came on the weekends, for the most part, he didn't take the child with him. And when he did bring the child, he would give the child to Trinity to take care of. I believe you'll hear testimony that Trinity was the one that bathed the child, clothed the child, got the child ready for bed. If you see any photographs or any videos that are introduced of the couple, you'll see that Trinity is normally holding the child. She carried him. She took care of him. It's an indication Mr. Williams expected someone else to take care of the child. Now, the child had an unusual circumstance, and that was born to a mother that has now given the child up to Mr. Williams. Excuse me. Mr. Williams is not recognized as the legal father of the child. He's not legitimated the child or done anything to have a court declare that he actually is the father, but we're not really arguing about whether or not he's the biological father. But when the child was born, the lady was married to someone else who's not in the picture as well. But the lady that gave him up, just told her to come get him, has not seen the child since she gave him to Julian Williams. Now, Julian Williams has had the child for about a year or more. And during this time that he's had this child, not one single time you can see from the evidence has he taken the child to the doctor. Not one time. For your normal checkups, for your normal monthly and quarterly and all the things that you do for young children. None at all. And you're going to see, in addition to failing to do that, that on the weekend that is in question in this case has been talked about, in which he came to see Trinity. This was an unexpected visit with the child. It was an unexpected visit, but Trinity did not know the child was coming, did not mind that the child was coming, but was not prepared for the child to be there. As an example, would not have had food at the dorm for the child, that type thing. But that when Mr. Williams arrived, he was drinking. And he was drinking with the child, riding from Bainbridge to Americans. And that he met Trinity in Albany, Georgia. And when he met her, they were going to Chipotle to have something to eat. And they sat down to eat there, but they did not have some of the things they normally have. And Trinity asked could they go somewhere else because they didn't have what she wanted. So before they left from Chipotle, they were going to go to McDonald's. Before they went, they took the car seat out of Mr. Williams' vehicle and put it in Trinity's vehicle. And they did that because they knew, or Trinity knew, that Mr. Williams was drinking. He didn't need to be driving with that child. So they go to the trouble to take the car seat out of one vehicle, put it in the other vehicle. Trinity and the child went to eat at McDonald's. Now, when they went to eat at McDonald's, this is Saturday, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, sometime in that range, the child did not eat when he was given his food. But he's a young child. It's not unheard of for a child not to eat. Trinity didn't think anything particularly about that. They then decided to go to Americas. And Trinity had already decided, yes, she had sent text about she'd prefer that she not see him that night, not just the child, but Mr. Williams. But she realized Mr. Williams was drinking. She couldn't just send him back home with the child because he would be driving with the child. So she agreed to come back to Americas that night. They came back to the dorm that night. And when they came to the dorm that night, they had planned on spending the night, and Mr. Williams went to sleep very early. I would suggest to you that he passed out because he had been drinking. And that left Trinity with the child. Now, some of what was said earlier about facts are not exactly correct. Trinity did text her roommate and ask could she use her room, but not to sleep. If you read the text, it was actually to watch TV, because that will be separate in a way, not to go to sleep. But she had the child, and she was up with it, and Mr. Williams was asleep. And I'll talk to you a little bit about the rest of this situation as far as the facts of what happened from there forward in just a moment. But first, let me tell you a little bit about the investigation that has occurred in this case. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation, along with America's Police Department, you'll see from the evidence, are the two main investigatory agencies we're trying to determine what happened here. And in doing so, they had a right to interview people and try to find facts and all those things. And you will see that they will have no evidence concerning the location of where a supposed crime scene occurred, and they'll have no evidence about a crime occurring at all. In other words, you'll see no blood evidence, you'll see no DNA evidence, you'll see no spittle evidence, you'll see no throw-up evidence. You may hear about throwing up coming up somewhere, but you'll see no evidence of it. You'll see no blood splatter, you'll see nothing that will indicate that a violent action occurred in the dorm where Trinity Poague lives. Nothing. It'll be zero. You will see lots of photographs. They took photographs, over 150 photographs of the dorm area. They took photographs of garbage, all kinds of evidence. They'll have nothing. And more importantly, you'll see that the GBI and the American Police Department committed two severe violations of normal protocol. One involved, they took in from the trash. They had video of people coming in and out, delivering trash to the dumpster. And coming from the dorm room of where Trinity lived, the trash was taken out, so they took that trash, went out there into the green dumpster, and pulled it out. And they went through it, and it was just normal stuff, like empty cola cans and that kind of thing. Had 3 diapers in there. 3 diapers were wrapped up. They unfolded those diapers. They took pictures of the folded up diaper first. Then they took pictures of the diapers after they were opened up. 2 of them were of no real note. I think they may have had urine or something. It's hard to tell. The third one was full of fecal matter. But in that fecal matter, from the naked eye, it appeared to have blood in it. And it appeared to have blood because that's the coloration of it and the way you're looking at it. And the importance of that was, and is, it was taken enough importance to have a picture taken of it and to be marked. The photograph numbers show which number it is. But after they took that, and the first time that we saw it as an offense, we filed a motion to ask that there be a test done on that fecal matter to see if there was blood in it. Because if there was blood in the fecal matter, it would show that it had been quite some time between injury and that occurred. You can't have blood if it just happened, it wouldn't be blood in fecal matter. In this case, the diaper was not the one the child was wearing when it went to the hospital. It had a diaper on when it went to the hospital. So you know that this diaper came from previous time, sometime in the past time period. But GBI and America's Police Department, when we asked to do that test, turned out they threw it away. Threw away the evidence. They do not have it. They will not be able to explain why they don't have it, other than they did not feel like it was important enough to keep. The second protocol violation, I'll just wait and you'll just listen when you come to court. You will see they violated a very serious normal protocol for the way cases are handled. And you will see that as I question some of their witnesses. But you will see that this investigation also failed in many ways. They interviewed Ms. Poague, they interviewed Mr. Williams, they interviewed quite a few people. But most of the people they interviewed, almost all, were the folks that knew Ms. Poague. Almost all of them. Everyone in the dorm, every friend they could find out, anything they could, trying to find out what was going on here. But you'll see when it came time to interview Mr. Williams. Now remember, he's the caretaker of this child. And when it comes time to interview his sister, Miss Ashanti Burr, they interviewed them, but no one else. They didn't interview anybody who knew him. They didn't interview about what was going on. They didn't interview anything about what might have happened. They didn't interview anyone on that side because there was a rush to judgment in this case. You'll see the GBI got in this case early, said that Trinity Poague was the last person that was with the child. The child was in distress. She must have done it. From that point on, there was no effort to do anything but try to prove that Trinity Poague was the person that did it. But they had problems, as I said, when they went to the dorm room and they scoured it trying to find evidence. They found nothing. That did not support their theory very much. So they then have said they think it had to be within a time frame, a very short time frame that this occurred. That's the only explanation. That way it would make it where it could be no one else. Now understand Trinity Poague was only around the child this time from Saturday around 6 o'clock or so until Sunday at noon. And really she was around the child most of that time with Mr. Williams. If any injury or anything happened to this child any other time period, it absolutely could not be Trinity Poague. And that's important to note because there are some things that occurred here. When Mr. Williams was interviewed, and I believe when he testifies, he will have to admit that he told various stories about what he thought had happened to the child after he got to the hospital. You will see that, I believe, from Dr. Busman's notes that the first thing he told him was that the child had fallen face down, face first, 5 minutes before he brought the child to the hospital. I don't know where he got that particular statement from, but that's what he told him. He later told police officers the same story, that the child had fallen. And he told Trinity Poague and one of the police officers at one time that the child had fallen on Friday. In addition to that, we know a few things about what may have happened with the child as well. We know that J.D. spent the night, as I told you, in the room. If they got back from going to eat, when they got back, Mr. Williams is out. He's out cold. And we know he's out cold because there was reports from other people in the dorm that sometime midnight forward, at least 2 people reported they heard the child crying loud enough that it woke them up. And we also know that Mr. Williams said, I don't know anything about that. And finally admits he didn't wake up. And I would suggest to you that evidence shows there's a reason he didn't wake up, for what I told you a moment ago, because he had been drinking enough that he would not wake up. But Trinity Poague was awake during those time periods. And Trinity you have seen that what they've already talked about with the text message, that she acknowledged that the child fell off the bed that night. Now, she said the first time he fell off the bed, but I think he's okay. The second time when they asked, she said, well, it was really just the blow-up mattress. But I think you will see that when that statement was made was from the hospital, as they were waiting to find out what was going on. And by that time, there had already been allegations being thrown against her. And I believe that you will find that Mr. Williams had wanted to make sure that no one said anything about the child falling off the bed. The bed's important because this bed's not like normal beds, in the sense that your normal bed's not too high off the ground. This bed is 40 inches above the ground because you can store stuff below it. That means it's about this high. It's pretty high. If you'll see from, I believe, investigation, that the flooring in that dorm room is a concrete tile floor. Very hard surface is what I believe the investigation showed. So it's something if you fall on or hit will cause great damage and can cause harm. And we know that the child fell off of that bed at that time because of the statements they were already made and because we know from the dorm that the child was crying. Now, was that enough to cause these injuries? I know the state will say that is not the case, but there's a few things I believe that will be acknowledged or admitted by the medical people that will come testify today. One is any child under 3 and certainly under 2 is not physically developed yet. And in one place they're not physically developed is the skull. Their skull has not joined together and become a solid structure that protects. It is sort of apart. So any evidence, in fact, that the skull was somehow separated could very well be that the skull has not yet formed to be together. But because it's not totally together, a young child is much more susceptible to injury from a fall than would be an adult human being, and can get much more catastrophic injury from what would seem to be a rather unimportant fall, can cause great harm to a child. In addition to that, the same holds true for internal injuries. A child's organs are much larger than your organs because they've already grown in size almost to the adult size, even though they're a small child. So they're very susceptible to a fall because it's a small area with a large organ that if it falls can cause injury. And I believe that's important to know that that could be part of what could have happened. We don't know why Mr. Williams said the child fell on Friday, but there's also evidence, I believe, can show that if you have one fall compounded by another fall, it can cause some injury that then gets magnified by the second fall. But if we go back to the night in question that this happened, on the fall from the bed, we know that happened. The next morning, when everyone wakes up, it appears that, by all testimonies that will come in, that the child appeared to be okay. They got up rather late that morning, except for one thing. The child, again, did not eat and did not drink. The child would not eat and would not drink the night before. Everyone will agree with that part. Did not eat his meal. Gets up the next morning at almost 12 by this time and still is not eating and not drinking. And we know that not from testimony so much. We do know there were some chips that were crushed up in Mountain Dew given to the child, but the medical examiner and the medical records will show the child had no food in its stomach at all, had no food or any substance in its mouth. The child was not eating for some reason, which of course could cause concerns, but only if you looking back to now seeing their problems. But when the child didn't eat, it was just sitting there not eating, and that's when they decided to go get pizza. The father went to get pizza. Now, when he went to get pizza, Miss Poague said she was going to go with him. She and the child would go along with him. But he said, no, you just stay here. And prior to them going to get pizza, she and Mr. Williams had taken a shower together. And this was right before he would then get out of the shower and leave. He got out of the shower before she did. He got out of the shower about 5 minutes before she did, because she remained in the shower and shaved her legs. And that took some time, as you might imagine. When she got out of the shower, Mr. Williams was holding the child, who was crying rather loudly. But that was not unheard of, because the child was fussy from time to time and had been fussy during this occasion by not eating. Trinity Poague did not think a lot about it at the time, but the child calmed down. Mr. Williams put him in his little seat, and he left to get the food. When he came back, the child was all of a sudden in distress. Trinity Poague will tell you Trinity Poague's testimony would be that she was cleaning up around the house and didn't see anything unusual until she looks and sees that the child is not able to hold its head up as it should. She called her boyfriend because she knew he was not far away, and it would be quicker to get the child to get medical attention to go straight ahead than to call some emergency. He went to the hospital. She followed behind at the hospital, and that's when they came to be interviewed. They were interviewed on many occasions by police officers. Mr. Williams gave conflicting stories on various things on several occasions, and he was interviewed some, but as I said, nothing was followed up. Now, when you look at the whole totality of this case, ladies and gentlemen, it's easy to just first blush and say, well, she was there last, must be the person. But this case requires evidence. It requires proof. Trinity Poague should not be accused of this crime. I know that when you go back to the jury room, you will want to find justice, and I understand that, because you do have one victim, a young child. But in seeking justice in this case, do not let justice be found at the cross of innocent blood. Because Trinity Poague did not commit this violent act. And Trinity Poague is not guilty of the crime she's been accused of, and that is the proper verdict that you should render at the end of this trial. Thank you.